so that it'll, record.
Yeah.
Her,
Yes.
her. And then we'll, fill for a minute, and then we'll start the damn show. And I'll choke and die.
Rule number one.
Yeah, I know. The way everybody always reminds me of my own rules. Oh my god.
Mm-hmm. The rules are there for your safety.
It's true. So we got... They put land cycling in the mechanics article. Okay.
They did. The mechanics article is a good place to start, but there's a lot that's not covered here. Sometimes I wonder about what they pick to put in here with a set like this.
And this looks like it's just the new or different stuff, and then double face cards and adventures and land cycling. Like, just fill out the article. What?
Sure. It's a fine enough place to start.
Speaking of starting, here we go.
So now I'm supposed to fill for a minute, right?
I swear to God, Brian. I swear to God, Mike. Will you shut the fuck up?
Sorry, I'm looking at the...
Oh, jam. Hello again. Welcome to the Mana Pool, where I successfully did not reach through the internet and stab my co-host. Plural.
Yet.
This
He at least didn't stab me, so I don't know about the rest of these guys.
I'm about to. This is episode 7. These are the guys that are like, how come we always start so late? This is episode 725.
I don't complain about that.
I will come to your house. I don't know where you live. Damn it. Look, it's episode 725. We're doing Final Fantasy stuff. I'm Chewy. That one over there is Brian.
Hey.
That one over there that I'm not going to stab, but I might still, is Dirk.
That's
hey,
me.
Dirk.
And then the one with the beard that you can't see, but you can hear him sometimes, that I'm definitely going to stab, is Mike.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
Mike is apparently having connection issues, too.
Oh, good. Because this was going to be too easy to begin with.
Darn it.
Right.
Yeah.
I was wishing that was not the case.
You sound okay now.
Oh my god. So,
Well, I
yes,
guess that's
hello
good to know
everybody.
now.
We're going to jump right into the episode and none of this fooling around for 20 minutes introducing ourselves. So, we've done one episode on Final Fantasy cards already because they did a big preview. Well, they previewed a handful of cards, I don't know, a couple months ago, whenever that episode was. I don't know when our episodes are. That was... Oh, God. Back in March. Okay. Oh, yeah, because in the thumbnail I put the 4 of us into the scene with Cloud and Sephiroth. I was happy with how that turned out.
Yeah.
That was episode 718. And so now, actual previews have started and are in full effect. So we're going to dive into the mechanics, as usual.
Let's do it.
First up, we've got Job Select, which is actually kind of neat. It's a it's a triggered ability that's on equipment and hiccups. It's only on equipment. And the example is Dragoon's Lance. So for 1 and a white, it is a Well, it's an equipment. Mm-hmm. This one's uncommon. It has job select, which means when this equipment enters, you create a 1/1 colorless hero creature token and attach this equipment to it. So you play the equipment and you get a creature that holds it because equipment, jobs in Final Fantasy, get it?
Yep.
And what it does is equipped creature gets +1/+0 and is a knight in addition to its other types. And during your turn, equipped creature has flying because dragoons jump,
It's true.
but only during your
And-
turn.
And there are a couple dragoons in the set that have the ability jump, and it says during your turn this creature is flying. So,
Yeah.
aha.
And then all of the job selects I've seen have like a trippy sort of word for that goes with the equip cost. And I'm not sure what that means.
So what it is the job select cards, and you notice how, and I think we talked about this in the last episode where we covered the previews, but each of these cards is drawn from a particular Final Fantasy 1 through 16, and no, I watched the PAX panel where they covered this. It does not cover tactics. I'm so sorry they don't cover tactics. Please, people in the comments, it does not cover tactics. But it actually notes on the card which one this is from. And there are some others that could apply to more than one, like chocobos, so they just picked one to illustrate. And all of the job select are from Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 14. And the ones from Final Fantasy 1 just say equip, and it's just the normal way it looks. The ones from 14, they actually put the name of an equipment from Final Fantasy 14. So for the Dragoon's Lance, the Gay Bolg is the name of a lance that your Dragoons can equip. So,
yeah, and
it's a way
Phineas
to
says
tie
in the
that
chat it represents the relic weapon you would get in 14 for that job.
there you go.
Oh, okay.
So, which I believe Gay Bolg is also a real world reference. So, but yeah,
Right
insert I need a hero here, and
it was
you're welcome.
pointed out in the Discord that the next set, the Spider-Man set, is probably going to have hero cards in it too.
I mean, probably. It would feel weird if it didn't. So
that's, and there are a few other things that look for or care about heroes in some way. So that's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
But so here,
Sorry, the next
all
set
of the
is the space. Wait, the next set is the space set. You sure about that?
I mean, it's. I know the space set is coming up. So, but yeah, all the job select basically works like, you remember Living Weapon, or for Mirrodin, those abilities. But this gives you a 1/1 versus a 0/0 germ. And all of these also confer a creature type, in this case knight, to the token or whatever's equipping it, which means technically this would be a hero knight or a knight hero.
Oh,
Sounds
the
like
space
Batman.
set is next. I remembered there were 2 Universes Beyond sets in a row. I thought it was this one and Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man and Avatar. My bad. Chat was right. Mark it down. Actually, that's mean because my chat is frequently right. Or at least chat when we're doing the show is frequently right about stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just saying my Twitch chat is better than most Twitch chats in this one respect. So there you go. That's job select. Very simple, but very flavorful. I like it.
Yeah. As far as Dragoons having this ability of, like, during your turn, the equipped creature is flying, it's probably the cleanest way to do it. You could do something about, like, when this creature attacks, blink it for a turn or whatever, but that'd be flavorful, but it'd be really weird to implement. So,
Especially when
this is
something
probably.
Yeah, because then you have to figure out how to make that an actual attack ability.
Right.
Break it
Yeah.
and then
Exactly. So this is clean, and everybody gets. Oh, it's in the air. It's flying. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I
All
like it.
right. Next up, tiered magic. This is so cool.
I like this.
Okay, tell us about it then. You're so smart.
So the way tiered magic works is this is on. I think it's only on instants and sorceries, but I haven't seen all the previews. The easiest way to do this, I think, I'm just going to go right into the preview. So this
Please
preview
do.
is ice magic, and it costs 1 and a blue, and it's an instant. And is that it is a
That's
common.
common, yeah.
And the illustration is from Final Fantasy X, and that is Lulu with a Moogle doll, getting ready to cast what may be like Blizzaga. But the way tiered works is by itself, Ice Magic just says, all right, now pick one of these three options, and you choose an additional cost. So for Blizzard, it has no additional cost. It's 0 mana. For Blizzara, it costs 2 generic more, and for Blizzaga, it costs 6 more mana. So when you cast Ice Magic, you choose Blizzard. So for just 2 mana total, you return target creature to its owner's hand. You bounce it. For Blizzara, when you're casting for the initial 1 and a blue plus 2 more generic, target creature's owner puts it on their choice of the top or bottom of their library. Okay.
Oh,
And then
they get to choose.
Blizzaga would.
Huh.
What's that?
I said they get to choose. I was like, why is that worded so? Oh, because they get to choose.
Because they get
well,
to choose.
it's worded that way to make it clear they get to choose. Like most other effects like this, if it's not telling the caster to specifically choose, that means the controller is supposed to choose where it goes in the library. But that's very unclear. Like I forget sometimes how you're
Yeah.
supposed to do it. But they're finally making it clear with the way they're templating it.
Which I appreciate. And I'm glad they're not just like, well, Arena will do it for you. So I'm glad they're spelling it out. And then for Blizzaga, the top of the line, which is a total of 8 mana, the 2 for Ice Magic, and then the additional cost of 5 and another blue. Target creature's owner shuffles it into their library. So this does a lot of work for a common. And
Seems
most of the
really
time, if you're okay to just bounce something, you're just going to pay that 2 and be good with it. But the fact that a little later in the game, or depending on what you want to see happen with that creature, you can pay a little more and you can just keep upping it. Now, again, to be clear with tiered, you can only choose one additional cost. So you cannot use Ice Magic to cast Blizzard and Blizzara, or Blizzara and Blizzaga, or anything like that. You just pick one. And I also do appreciate, while this feels a bit like, what was that mechanic from the Outlaws of Thunder Junction? Um, where you could cast it. It had a very low cost at the top, but then you had to keep paying more for different modes.
Spree.
Free.
That's right.
Thank you, chat.
I do appreciate that Blizzard, the first section of this tiered, actually costs nothing. So Ice Magic, if you just want to cast Blizzard, literally costs 2. For Spree, it is never just the cost at the top. So sometimes that can be a bit misleading. So they also do say in the notes here that no matter what mode you choose, the converted mana cost of Ice Magic is 2. So the additional cost does not figure into the converted mana cost. So,
Which is weird because it's an additional cost.
it is, but like you don't figure kicker into converted mana cost. So,
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
which, as we all know, almost every ability is some form of kicker. But I like this. I like
Including
that,
this one.
Yeah, I like this, and I feel like once you get what they're going for, you kind of like you have that aha moment, and I like how versatile this is because again, Ice Magic Blizzard most of the time is going to be just fine, but there's going to be some times when you're like, no, I want that to go away, and hopefully never come back. So, and
I don't know,
again,
man. Like for 2 mana, bouncing a creature at instant speed, yep, that's fine. For 4 mana, putting it on top or bottom, the fact that the creature's owner gets to choose is kind of annoying, because you might want to, tempo them out by put that back on top. Ha! Now you can't draw whatever you need because you're drawing this. But even so, you're still removing it. So that's fine.
yeah,
For 4 mana for that is fine. But 6, 7, 8, so 6 and 2 blue to shuffle some. Is that because it's common?
I think it's because it's common. I think it's because
Yeah.
you have the choice of doing these other things. So, I agree. It is expensive, but it's for the versatility, I think, and the fact that it is common. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
Blizzara, in my opinion, Blizzara is probably the most on rate of the options.
Probably, yeah, because Unsummon costs 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, for all of these, you're paying a little more for the modality, but
Yeah.
I agree with Mike.
But this is a really cool way to show that, in the original Final Fantasy, it was Ice 1, Ice 2, Ice 3. And in later years, it has become the Blizzaga
Yeah.
thing. And this is a really cool way to work that into a set where the text on each card is set. I like it.
Yeah.
I also like that instead of being, it's more like D&D spell levels. Like I cast this as a level 3 instead of completely separate spells like they are in Final Fantasy.
Yeah. Because really, these are, even in Final Fantasy, they do the same thing. It's just bigger numbers.
Exactly,
bigger cost, bigger effect. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly what this does. Like, they're all tempo. They're just different intensities of it.
Right.
Infinius says, I protest. There is no Blizzaja. Shut up. All right.
The Azas only show up in a handful of games, so yeah.
Yeah, I protest. There's no Zeta Flare. There's also no Donald Duck. Bite me.
I think we do need to say this at the outset. While people are joking, there is going to be so much stuff in this set, and there's going to be so much stuff that is not in this set just because there isn't space. So somebody's favorite niche character or spell from a game is not going to be here because there's just not room. So, and, it's a little sad, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So, but that's tiered. Anything else about that?
As long as there's a Queena. Queena?
The one with the tongue?
Yeah, I can't remember their name.
The Gormund.
I think it's Queena? I think that's right.
I think, yeah.
Anyway.
From 9. So what do we
No,
got
not
next?
Quistis. Final Fantasy VIII was
Quistis is
crap.
Final Fantasy VIII was... Yeah. Yeah.
Oof. Okay, anyway. So, Saga Creatures. We've already talked about one of these with Shiva.
It was Shiva.
It was Shiva, yeah.
Yeah, so... Hey, this is a green card. Hey, Dirk, tell us about Fenrir.
Typecast Dirk, yes.
Yeah, I know. Saga creatures, they essentially are sagas, and they're creatures, so they go through their thing. They're all the summons. They're all the summon creatures that we love from Final Fantasy. So the example is Summon Fenrir. So for 2 and a green, you summon Fenrir, who is a 3/2. His enters, and after your step, add a lore counter, sacrifice after the 3rd one. So when he comes in, he has Crescent Fang as his first stage in his saga.
What do we call it? Chapters? Is that what we usually call them?
Chapters, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's a 3/2 who is, enchantment creature and everything. So his first chapter is Crescent Fang. Search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tapped, then shuffle.
Okay, hold on.
So that is his
3 mana for a 3/2
It's a
gets
rampant
you a
growth.
land is like fine, right?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
He's an
And
uncommon, and by the way, he is also not legendary.
that's correct. He's not legendary.
Oh.
Now you're only going to swing with him one time because as a creature he comes in with summoning sickness. And then
True.
Yeah.
But keep going.
So his second chapter is Heaven's Ward Howl.
Heavenward Howl.
I put
Heavenward
an
Howl.
S in there too, but there's not one.
No, it's Heavenward.
That
Mm-hmm.
But just like Dirk, my brain inserted an S. Why is that? Okay, let's not get into the way our brains work. Sorry.
Anyway, so when you next cast a creature spell this turn, that creature enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it.
Ooh.
Cool.
So you want to have a little bit of planning ahead of time with
But
him.
but because this is the second chapter, it's not the turn where you just paid 3 to get Fenrir, and you have an additional land. So whatever you play, you're probably paying at least 4 for, so you're making something big even bigger, which is good for chapter 3.
And then that brings us to the third chapter, which is the chapter that you end up sacrificing Fenrir, and that is Elliptic Growl.
Ecliptic.
Yeah, elliptic
like
growl.
eclipse.
No, there's a TIC. It's elliptic.
It's ECL. Ecliptic, like
Elliptic
eclipse.
owl.
Like a moon, because
Okay.
it's a wolf.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, horrible, horrible zoom on mine. So, but anyway, Ecliptic Growl. Draw a card if you control the creature with the greatest power or tied for the greatest power.
I gotta
Which
say,
could be,
on a 3
Go ahead.
mana uncommon, I really dig all of this.
yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
And just to be clear, that he is not sacrificed until after chapter 3. So if he's your only creature, if for some reason you couldn't play a creature on chapter 2, or you did and the opponent blew it up, if the 3/2 is still the biggest creature on the board or tied, you still get that. It doesn't go away until after this resolves. So
Mm-hmm.
play him and immediately rampant growth. Next turn, play another creature, comes in with a +1/+1 counter, and you can swing with Fenrir if you want. And then finally, next turn, it might replace itself with a draw if you have a big creature. For 3 mana, that's awesome.
Yeah, this is somewhat ridiculous.
Yeah. But if you understand how creatures work, and if you understand how sagas work, yes, there's some funky interactions there, but you get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're at the pre-release trying to evaluate how useful it is, or to put in your deck, or if you're in the middle of a game, stop and think carefully about how many attacks you're actually going to get out of it. Like Brian said, you're only going to get 1 attack out of Fenrir under normal circumstances.
Right.
Because the chapter 1 turn, it just got there, can't attack. The chapter 2 turn, you're fine. The chapter 3 turn, it's going to get sacrificed right after the beginning of your main phase.
Yeah, or after your draw step, yeah.
I was gonna say before your main phase.
No, sagas trigger at the beginning of the pre-combat, of the first pre-combat main phase. It says after your draw step is like a shorthand.
Oh, okay.
Reminder text.
Thank you, Mr. Mike, with the rules and whatnot. But yeah, that's important because, like, say if you're like me and you're going to a pre-release, assuming I can get one, and I usually run about 15 creatures. I feel like 15 is a good, not bright line rule, but you really want to have enough. Including this in your 15 might be a bit risky if you have too many of these, because they're not going to stick around.
No.
So, yeah.
Yeah. For ones with 3 chapters, it's probably better to treat it as a saga than a creature.
Yeah, count it as a spell.
Agreed. This Wolfie is from Final Fantasy XI, which I never played. Now, Fenrir shows up in a bunch of games, but again, with things that showed up in more than one, they picked a game where they thought it applied best. So,
Yeah. And I have no idea how summons worked in 11, and honestly, don't care.
I assume, yeah, I don't know.
I assume they had the different abilities, or these are all abilities from various incarnations of it, and they just put them all on here.
Right.
Either way, moving on.
Transforming double-faced cards is something we have seen, and this preview
is one we've talked about.
Was one we talked about. So
Yeah.
Interesting choice, guys. So keep moving.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll get to others.
We all know how to transform double-faced cards. Even me, who doesn't really play Magic anymore. So moving on.
Just RTF. You just read the card.
Hey, look.
Hey,
adventures are back.
Yeah. And this time they have adventures on a cycle of towns. So Adventure Lands.
Adventureland.
Wasn't that movie with not Michael Cera? I can never remember that dude's name.
I think you're right.
Eisenberg. Jesse Eisenberg.
That dude's name. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's his name.
Wasn't that Zombieland?
No, that was a different something land with Jesse Eisenberg. Adventureland was the one with him and what's her name? Kristen Stewart, right? Is that her name from Twilight? Yeah.
Isn't that like 100 Days of Summer or something?
What? No, that's the guy with 3 names and a Deschanel, I want to say.
Okay.
Are we playing that game where it's like, no, you're thinking of blah, blah, blah?
Yeah,
probably. Hey, Mike, what's an adventure? And how is it just like Omens, but not at all the same thing, since those were in the last set?
So, I mean, it's a card with options. You get to choose which side of it you want to play. When you play it, they're 2 totally different things. Adventures were introduced in Eldraine, and they were just on. They were
Adventures were introduced where?
In Eldraine.
Throne of Eldraine. Yeah.
My brain heard you say Elden Ring, and I went, "What?"
No, Eldraine. We had like the Goldilocks one that made bears and whatnot.
Oh my god. I'm okay. Yeah. Sorry, keep going.
Then I think they were only on creatures. Later they popped up on a couple of artifacts, and maybe, I don't know if they did an enchantment. Anyway, not important. This time they're on some lands. So the normal card is, now this is from Final Fantasy VI, Jidur, the aristocratic capital. It's a land with the town subtype. It enters tapped, and it can tap for 1 blue mana. Now the adventure option is Overture, which costs 4 blue and is a sorcery. Target opponent mills half their library rounded down. And the reminder text for the adventure tells you, then you exile this card and you can play the other side, the land, later from exile.
I love adventures on lands because there will be sometimes with adventures where you don't really care about the creature or whatever the default setting is. You just want the sorcery or instant. You just want the adventure. But this is one where you can always just play this as a land if you're just like, hey, I want the blue mana next turn or whatever. But once you play Overture, you always have, until you play this, you have a land drop at the ready. That's great. Jidur is from Final Fantasy VI, and for those that haven't played, it is the rich people's town. Like, you go see it, and they're talking about this other. Basically, they banished all the poor people or the thieves and scum from their town, and those people went off and made their own town in the mountains, and they're like, don't go there. But meanwhile, Jidur is full of rich snobs. It's also where you find the auction house, where you can pay a lot of money for some neat stuff. But it is the snob town.
Yeah, isn't this the one that has the auction house?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what Brian just said.
Oh.
It's okay. I zone out sometimes when I'm talking too. I talk a lot. Yeah.
So this
it
is the
has
rich
auction
people
house.
town, right?
Yes.
Oh.
It has the house with the guy with the paintings that come alive. Lots of stuff.
That has the rich people in it.
It's true. They're snobs and they kicked out all the poor people. But yes,
Because the
I
poor
really
are a
like
blight on society. Oh my god, it's the Republican town.
it is.
Didn't you want to punch that guy in the auction house who was like, oh, I have so much money?
The one that bought like talking chocobos for his kid. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on. Oh yeah, and I really like the thought of, a traumatize.
Well, yeah. Because
Wait.
what's more traumatizing than the rich town? I mean, what?
Yeah. The last mechanic in the mechanics article is good old land cycling. And it works the way it has before. You have cards that have cycling, so you can pay some amount of mana, whatever it says, and discard it. And you with just basics with cycling, you just then draw a card. But when it's land cycling, for example, swamp cycling, you pay the mana, you discard this card, you search your library for a card with the specified land type, and put into your hand and reshuffle. For example, Malboro for 4 and 2 black.
Sorry, reflex.
It's okay. Yeah. The Final Fantasy players have that. This one is from 15, which there was a Marlboro that was like a boss in the Marlboro that you fight is a boss in an underground dungeon area. And it's a big deal. But for 4 and 2 black, it's a 4/4 plant horror. This is a common. It has swamp cycling for 2. Note that the swamp does not have to be a basic swamp. It's just any card that is also a swamp. And its ability is, of course, Bad Breath. When this creature enters, each opponent discards a card, loses 2 life, and exiles the top 3 cards of their library.
Because what Bad Breath does is it just layers on a series of negative status effects on whoever it hits.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's all of them, then it's always the same. Sometimes it's a random assortment.
Yeah.
So that's represented here with making you discard a card, lose life, and get milled.
Yeah. And of course, because like there's some random elements to that, like the top 3 cards of your library that you can't necessarily control, it feels a little like, aw.
Yeah.
In certain games, Marlboros are party wipers, especially if you don't see them coming. I remember Mike played through 10, and in the Ultima dungeon, you could run into a Grand Marlboro that if you didn't have something that would let you act first, it would just be like, yeah, you're all petrified and doomed and cursed and confused and all the things now.
I mean, that dungeon was swimming with Malboros after a certain point. It was awful.
Yeah.
I hate these things.
That's they are literally made to be hated. I love how in some of the earlier Final Fantasies like 4 and 6, because of translations being a bit wonky, I think I remember the first time I ever saw one of these in 6, it was called an Oscar. And I'm like the Grouch? What? What am I? And then it like killed me and I'm like, am I afraid of Oscar now?
I would consider this to be the Final Fantasy version of a Beholder.
Basically, yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, I mean, there are floating eyes that are basically giant eyeballs with wings that have a comparison, but it's pretty. Your comparison is pretty apt. So
Let's see.
so
These
that is
first appeared in Final Fantasy II. Jesus.
Hmm.
In Final Fantasy IV, they were called Mall Balls. MOLBOL. In the
Yeah.
original
I
thingy.
think they were in the Toad Cave.
The what?
Yeah. The cave in the underground with all the toad ladies. Croaked, my dears.
Okay. The Toad
Yeah.
Cave. And in 6, was known as the Mad Oscar. Yeah.
Aha! The Mad Oscar.
Oh, and it was in Daryl's tomb. Oh, I was like, I haven't seen these in 6 yet. That's why. Okay.
Get ready for it.
Maybe they weren't ever called Marlboro, but chat just said, and I've seen people in other places, the Discord and on social media and whatnot, refer to these as Marlboros, like the cigarettes. I'm like, maybe they were spelled like that in 1. I don't think they ever were. I think we were all just stupid kids and couldn't read.
I think we did, and I wonder if the designers did the close comparison because, smoking, bad breath sort of thing.
Yeah, it'll give you all sorts of weird diseases.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's
So
the mechanics
now-
article. So chat,
Yeah.
the plan is to do the main characters in as many games as we can tonight. So where should we start? I'll let you guys fight it out.
Yeah.
I meant to say that earlier, but did you guys know this is where the auction house is?
I hear only the rich people live there.
So what do we think here? Like, swamp cycling's whatever. I do like putting adventures on lands. That's neat. Double face
I mean,
cards or whatever.
it's
I
hard-
think the idea of the summons being saga creatures is just so brilliant.
It is perfect because the summons, regardless of the game, don't stick around. In most of the early games, they're basically a magic spell. With Rydia in 4, you might cast Fire or you might cast Ifrit. So it's a different way of doing it. But in later games, they would start sticking around for some duration. So, and they also tend to be fairly iconic. Depending on the Final Fantasy, they're anywhere from it's kind of like a big nuke spell to an integral part of the story. In 7, in 6, the whole conflict with the Espers is what moves the story. In 8, the GFs and kind of how they junction and their effect on your brain, I guess, was kind of shoehorned in. Whatever. In 9, the Princess Garnet, right? She
Yep.
her powers were coveted and eventually, spoiler, I don't know, the game's been out forever, stolen from her. And then in 10, the Espers and all the faiths go toward Sin and that whole thing. So yeah, I mean, summons are tied pretty integrally to the lore of a lot of these games. So I think it's a good representation. I like how they're kind of spread throughout the rarities. We do have Fenrir and Shiva that we've seen at Uncommon, but then we have some rare and mythic ones that are just in the previews that are just like jaw-dropping. So, and that seems appropriate.
Yeah. So all right, let's get to it. Chat is no help. They're saying start at the beginning, boring. Start at the end, boring. Mike said start from 7 and spiral outwards. So now I'm definitely going to stab Mike.
Why?
And then Infinius said roll a d16. So I'm going to improvise on that and roll a d20. So here, whoops. Got to remember to zoom back out so we can see all the cards. There we go. Okay, so the d20 says 14. Son of a...
God.
So
The one none of us have done.
Go to series. Luckily, we have Infinius in the chat, and he's our 14 expert.
Yeah. So in Phineas, who are the major characters in 14?
Well, see, that
Other than
is a problem question because 14 is an MMO that's been going for a very long time.
Well, yeah, but the double face card that they showed us and then showed us again in the mechanics article is from 14. Emmett Emmett Selk is a bad guy, I think. So
All right, Infinius has wandered off, so let's just talk about the SIDS first to waste time.
yes, let's do SIDS because there's one of them, and yet there's 15 because there was no SID in Final Fantasy 1.
Yeah, is that in an article or something somewhere?
It was they talked about it during the panel, the live panel. I don't know that it's covered in an article.
It was in some random. Hang on, Final Fantasy MTG SID. Kotaku, here we go. No, it's a slideshow. Okay, not Kotaku. Eat my ass. How about Scryfall? No. Magic
Do we just
spoiler?
want to talk about the card?
No, I'm trying to find all of the arts in one place to put
Oh,
on the
that's
screen.
what you're trying to do.
This is a really interesting design.
Right?
It is. We'll get to it when Chewie is done searching.
Yeah, I'm trying to dig through it to find. Okay, never mind. Screw it, we'll just talk about this one. But there is one SID card that is in all of the games except for the first one.
Yeah.
And so there are 15 different arts, but they're
Yeah.
all the same card.
They're all the same card. They all have the same name. They're all uncommon.
Yeah.
So, Mike, you liked the design. So
Yeah, tell us about it, Mike, with your beard and your face.
All right. So, it's an uncommon legendary creature named Sid, Timeless Artificer. For 2, a white and a blue, you get a 4/4. Artifact creatures and heroes you control get +1/+1 for each artificer you control and each artificer card in your graveyard. All right. A deck can have any number of cards named Sid, Timeless Artificer. And also, he has cycling for just a white and a blue. So
keep in
pay white,
mind,
card, draw a
keep
card.
in mind, he is legendary, and he does not have any sort of mirror hall effect. Like you can have as many Sids out as you want. You can only have one Sid out at a time. But because they have cycling, and because they count artificer cards in your graveyard, you can still play as many as you want. I am kind of sick of brawl decks. I don't know about Mike because he plays on Arena. I'm kind of sick of brawl decks with heir apparent. There's too many of them and it's not clever anymore. But this feels like a different way of doing that. And I like it. And note, it pumps heroes, which is what Job Select gives you.
That too. So, Mike, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Sid Hoffman or Sid Frenchman?
I don't know.
That was
I'm not educated enough to
a
make
random
joke.
ass Homestar Runner reference. Homestar was like, guess what I'm going to say next? Sid Hoffman or Sid Frenchman? And whatever Marzipan guessed, he would say, no, and say the other one. Except once when he went, Sid Hoff Frenchman. But anyway, yeah, I've had
Now
all
again-
of the Sid. For those of you that don't know, one, why are you listening to this episode? But Sids are always pilots or engineers or inventors. Usually they have something to do with airships.
Yeah. In 6, Sid studied espers for the Empire, but never seemed thrilled about it. Most of the time, they're good guys. But in 12, he's a major heel. So, very interesting to see the turnabout there. The Probably the biggest departure of the ones I know of, that is not doesn't really have anything to do with with airships, artifacts, things like that, is 16. He's much more of a revolutionary leader, but I think it's close enough. They're not going to make 14 Sids that do one thing and then 15 that does something else. So
Yeah.
So you can only have one out on the battlefield.
Yeah,
correct,
because he's
they're
legendary.
Legendary.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they all have the same name. They have different pictures, but they all have the same name. So that's what says how many you can have.
All right, then. So, Infineon said we should start with Y'shtola.
Okay, Y'shtola. Y'shtola. She's in blue.
So let me turn the 14 filter back on. Y'shtola rule. For 4 blue is a cat druid, because she's I don't know the name of the race, a cat person. A 3/5 mythic. At the beginning, now remember, I forgot to say this, so don't remember. I'm going to tell you now. We're only looking at the main set. We're going to do the commander decks in their own episode at some point.
Yeah.
So, a 3/5 for 4 blue, cat druid. At the beginning of your end step, exile target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Then if it's the first end step of the turn, what? Oh, there's an additional end step after this step. Okay.
So I like this. We've seen additional upkeeps. Wasn't there? There was the preview. I'm sorry, I'm getting my words mixed up. There was the enchantment from Mirrodin block where you got an additional upkeep. And of course, we've seen several times, additional combat steps. But I think this is the first time, and Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, that we've seen an additional end step in the same turn.
Yeah, I think so. The only other thing I can think of that can make that happen is an uncard, topsy turvy,
Well, that doesn't count.
and that might not even work now that I think about it, because you haven't gotten to your first end step yet.
So there you go. Now, we don't know much about Final Fantasy XIV, so we're not going to spend a whole lot of time trying to explain these, because that would involve waiting on Infinius to explain it in the chat and then relating it to you, and we're just not going to do that. So, but he said we should do Xenos, Zodiark, and the Realm Reborn. Oh, well, Xenos and Zodiark are both in black. So that's easy.
So, yeah. Xenos, yay, Galvus.
Yay, Galvus.
He's a 4/4 legendary human noble warrior for 3 and 2 black. So a 4/4 for 5 mana. Human noble warrior. He's a rare, and he says his ability is called My First Friend. Aw, he's a nice guy. When Xenos, yay, Galvus enters, choose a creature an opponent controls, a buddy. Until end of turn, creatures other than Xenos, yay, Galvus, and the chosen creature get -2/-2. Oh, so you pick something to save. When the chosen creature leaves the battlefield, transform this card, and it turns into Shinryu, Transcendent Rival. Okay, so Shinryu is another repeating character Usually a giant mega dragon thing. First showed up as a super boss in 5. I don't know the reference here for 14, but it's a legendary creature dragon. It's an 8/8 flying. As this creature transforms into Shinryu, choose an opponent. Burning chains. When when the chosen player loses the game, you win the game. Which, if you're playing in a duel, you're like, duh. But when you're playing in a multiplayer game, that is hilarious. You're
Yeah,
like,
and
okay, so the first side, he's like, I
when I
choose.
first saw this card, I was very confused because I was like, wait, is this in the main set? Because I read that final line on Shinryu and went,
Yeah, same.
it's like this is in the commander set, right? Like no, it's the main set. I'm like, what? And I
I mean,
guess
okay,
they're actually printing cards in regular sets that could be used in commander instead of printing cards specifically for commander, and I'm proud of them.
yes, shock and awe. I can't say. I'm gonna turn to Infernius to to tell us how on point this is. Like, um if this is like a good representation or not. But again, so the front side, you pick one other guy and you're like, we're gonna kill everything else. But then when that other thing dies, he turns into a giant 8/8 dragon. If you ignore his ability, you for 5 mana, you have a 4/4 that kills a lot of things that can eventually turn into an 8/8 flyer. So that's pretty good. And then I do like this almost like chains of burning chains. It feels very fate oriented. Like when you die, I'm just picturing doing this in multiplayer, and I'm looking at like Chewie's at 50, and Mike is at 2, and Dirk is at, I don't know, 132 because of Well Wisher, and I'm gonna be like, hey Mike, how you feeling? And then all of a sudden,
That's a good
everybody
boss.
else, everybody else is incentivized to not kill Mike before me. That's wow. That's really kind of interesting. I like this card. This is some interesting design space. And
Yeah.
again, even in a duel, it's like, sure, I'll take a 4/4 that can turn into an 8/8. Yes, please.
But yeah, Xenos in the Discord, Infinius said Xenos is the main antagonist from Stormblood, which I'm gonna guess is one of the expansions. And he summons Shinryu is a boss fight that he summons to try to wreck stuff. But yeah, it's really cool. It was my first friend. He's trying to find an equal, he says in the chat. So when that creature leaves play, then Xenos is like, yeah, I am awesome. And summons up a Shinryu. In this case, transforms into, but whatever. I like it. I also really like that when it's a creature, its buddy or its thing that it's chained to is another creature. But when it's a massive, terrifying dragon thing, it's another player.
Mm-hmm.
Is the thing that it's chained to. I just really like what's going on there. But okay, then you say we should do Zodiark. Oh my god, it's
Zodiark
5 black.
is-
Can I read it? Can I read it?
Go ahead.
I don't think I've seen this one. Zodiark Umbral God. So umbral. For 5 black mana. Not 5 and a black. 5 black. It's a 5/5 rare legendary god. Nice. Who is indestructible. When Zodiark enters, what the hell? Each player sacrifices half the non-god creatures they control of their choice. Getting a little weird with their clarifications now. Rounded down. Okay. And whenever a player sacrifices another creature, put a +1/+1 counter on Zodiark.
Cool.
So he is a big ass that wipes literally half the board, and then gets really big and just sits there and bees indestructible. All right. like it.
So again, I'm not familiar with Zodiark in this game, but
All right.
Zodiark showed up in Tactics, and then in 12 they did a big departure from the usual summons. Instead of having like Shiva, Ifrit, Ramu, etc., they they had kind of like almost fallen deities be be the summons, and there were 12 for each of the zodiac symbols, and then Zodiark was forbidden, was hidden deep, deep, deep down in a mine. And at high levels, you had to beat a summon to kind of put it to your side. I never beat Zodiark because it had an unblockable instant death spell that hit your whole party that it liked to spam.
So in 14, Zodiark is the obvious main threat and Endwalker, as it's the main end goal for what the Askians, which that's what's on the new Dark Confidant art here. That's what the Askians are trying to do: awaken Zodiark so that they can save everyone. What? But he does say those abilities track very much to what he does, and then he's got a bunch of stuff from the spoiler text. But I'm not gonna drop any big spoilers for a game I don't understand, because I don't know how important these spoilers are. But there you go. Thank you, Infinius. Zodiark. And then A Realm Reborn, because we've got way too many to get through. Real quick, A Realm Reborn is crazy. For 4 green, it's a rare enchantment that says other permanents you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color.
That's cool.
Now, A Realm Reborn, when Final Fantasy XIV came out, it was kind of crap and everyone hated it. And they completely reworked it and re-released it as A Realm Reborn. And they're actually,
and I think it's done pretty well with itself since then. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But there are like reasons in game that says the 7th astral era is come. So
I do like how this allows you to, you know, other than this enchantment, allows you to tap enchantments, artifacts, things that you normally wouldn't be able to tap for mana. I feel like this could enable an engine.
you don't say.
Yes.
Well, it's unfortunate that lands don't get an additional tap, add 1 mana.
I mean,
So it's not like
Dark.
they can't tap for 2.
No.
no, but they can't tap for any color, so they're all immediately much better.
Yeah.
God,
That's
nothing's ever good enough for you, is it, Dirk?
I was gonna say.
Okay, here we go.
Now,
the 7th astral era was the in-game justification for the major upheaval that 14 underwent when the game launched to very negative reviews. Oh, that's all he said. Okay.
Well, I know that there's other stuff here, but we do have other games to get to.
So many other
do
games.
we? What's that?
So many other games.
But do we want to cover the land real quick since it's got an adventure?
Sure, why not?
Sure.
Ishgard.
So Ishgard, the Holy See. This one, it's whenever it comes, it this land enters tapped, and it taps for a white mana. And it's a rare land town, but its adventure is Faith and Grief. For 3 and 2 white, it's a sorcery. And it says return up to 2 target artifact and or enchantment cards from your graveyard to your hand.
Jesus.
Considering that the set has a big, well, I don't want to say enchantment and artifact theme, because this is not like the old days where, the old days of Magic, but like Urza's Saga, where it was, oh, it's supposed to be enchantments and artifacts and that sort of thing. But there are heavy themes in those card types in this, because enchantments, you've got summons, and then artifacts, you've got equipment, and there's a lot of cards that care about equipment in this set.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. So, do we want to roll a d20 and see what game we're going to next?
Chifuji said road trip to 15. Sure, why not?
Hey, I like 15. Who else played 15?
Me.
All right.
And nobody else.
So this will be the Dirk and Brian show. I thought that show was canceled in its 3rd season, but well, if we're going to talk about 15 and we're going to talk about major characters, we need to talk about Arden and we need to talk about Noctis.
Yep.
They are absolutely the biggest ones.
I got Noctis on the screen, so
yeah. So Noctis is going to be the Prince of Lucis. He's kind of the chosen one in this story, and he's the main one controlled by the player. For 4 mana, 1 and an Esper, a white, a blue, and a black. He is a human noble because he's the prince. He is a 4/3 with lifelink built in. That's pretty good. You may cast artifact spells. Hey, look at that. From your graveyard by paying 3 life in addition to paying their other costs. If you cast a spell this way, that artifact enters with a finality counter on it. So, this is perfect for him. His base weapon is a sword called the Engine Sword, and you can see a picture of it in the alternate art right next to this normal one. It's kind of complicated, and Sid works on it. But his special abilities, because he's from a line of kings, as you go through the game, he can enter tombs and grave rob from his ancestors. He can go and he can claim a kingly weapon, and that weapon is not to really be equipped. It's just when he does a limit break, the game's version of a limit break, he can summon a spectral version of it to his side, and I think there's up to 12 maybe of them, and by the end of the game, some of them are required by the story and some of them are not, but it can be rather lethal. So, yeah.
That is fascinating. Because I was reading that, having not played 15, I was reading this going, huh? The only thing I know about 15 is road trip with the boys, eat food, take pictures, fight a giant mountain turtle.
Yeah. I've discovered a new recipe. Yeah, but 15 is bitter sweet. There's no way to not talk about spoilers, so I'm going to try not to talk about too much at all, but you lose people on this road trip, and it's tough. And Noctis is reminded over and over again about the other people that have laid down their lives. There's a couple moments where he's really like, can I even get through this? And at once or twice his friends have to be like, you can't stop. Too many people have a whole city was wiped out. Your father died. All this stuff has happened. You have to see this through. So he's not a reluctant hero, but he is a very human character. He's kind of like what I would be if I was like, hey, everybody was like, the weight of the world is on your shoulders. I'd be like, that's a lot. Are you sure there's nobody else? And not to say he tries to get out of it, but he feels the weight of his responsibilities. So, Dirk, do you want to talk about Arden the Usurper, kind of the other side of the coin?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do his card first. So Arden the Usurper, for 5 and 3 black. He's a legendary creature, Elder Human Noble. He's rare and is a 4/4. Demons you control have Menace, Lifelink, and Haste.
That is a dead giveaway that he's a bad guy.
Yeah. So he also has the ability Star Scourge. At the beginning of combat on your turn, exile up to one target creature card from a graveyard. If you exiled a card this way, create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 5/5 black demon.
Hey, Dirk, when you're playing 15 and there is a day-night cycle in this, do you want to go out at night? Do you want to just be on the road at night?
They keep telling you don't do that.
Yeah.
And then when you're like, haha, you can't tell me what to do, you will instantly regret it if this is your first time playing, because yes, a giant demon will come out of the ground. Specifically, it's an iron giant.
Yeah.
Comes out of the ground and will wreck your stuff,
Yeah.
especially at the beginning of the game, and will wreck you.
You might think you're like, okay, I can handle. You can't. You really can't. And even at
No.
higher levels without preparation, you can't.
In
Yeah.
the opening area, you cannot take this thing. You can
No.
run, but you will not be you will run to safety as soon as he whacks you the first time.
Arden is tied to the demons, and he's kind of a, without getting into everything, he's kind of a carrier for the Star Scourge, which creates demons. And if you are out at night, and if you are not near a light source, you will probably die. And Noctis's home is the city of Insomnia, and it is taken over by the Empire early in the game, and at a certain point later becomes a city of eternal darkness. So don't go there. But yeah, our Ardens, I think, pretty well represented here. If they were gonna be 100% true to the character, he'd probably also either regenerate for no mana or have indestructible or something, because he is immortal. But for the card purposes, that, in addition to his other abilities, would just be too much. So I feel like it's a good representation. What do you think, Dirk?
I think so.
Okay. And then the only other one I think is kind of integral to this game, because we've talked about side quest, catch a fish, before, is probably this version of Leviathan, because there's a certain point in the story where you encounter Leviathan and it, like, everything changes. So Mike or Chewy, does somebody want to talk about Summon Leviathan?
Yeah, I will. So this is a rare summon. For 4 blue, it's a 6/6 with Ward 2 and 3 saga chapters. First chapter is return each creature. Oh, this is it also has the Leviathan subtype. First chapter, return each creature that isn't a Kraken, Leviathan, Merfolk, Octopus, or Serpent to its owner's hand. All right? So bounce everything in a big crashing wave. Now, the second and third chapters are the same. It says, until end of turn, whenever a Kraken, Leviathan, Merfolk, Octopus, or Serpent attacks, draw a card. So it's easier to get a big swarm of some of those creature types than others. If you have a big crowd of Merfolk ready, you're going to be drawing a lot of cards. And that's really good.
Yeah, I get the feeling that's going to be the most common use for this. But there are people who have the Kraken, Leviathan, Octopus, Serpent decks, because they're a bunch of cards that, or not a bunch, there are enough cards that care about that sort of thing that people have built decks around them.
Yeah. I do like that for chapters 2 and 3, it's whenever one of these things attacks, it doesn't have to connect. It's just when it attacks. And for the third chapter, it sets up a delayed trigger so that it doesn't matter that Leviathan isn't on the board anymore.
Yeah.
It's also
otherwise,
6/6
it would be pointless and stupid.
Yeah. It's also a 6/6 with Ward 2 for 6 mana. So.
And it at least gets to attack once.
And the whole. Go ahead.
So you'll get to at least draw one card.
Yeah.
And then the whole like chapter 1 bounce what is almost certainly every other creature on the board.
Yeah, I was about to say it's not just a 6/6 for 6. It's a 6/6 for 6 with a little miniature evacuation attached. It's not even
Yeah.
miniature.
Yeah.
No, it's not. As far as tying into this version of Leviathan, I don't know, but when this enters the battlefield, destroy target town would probably not be a blue card. So also minor spoiler alert, I think. Turns out giant sea-based leviathans, when they aren't under the water, cause property damage. You might want to contact your insurance agent. So, but until they reveal a Luna Freya card, I think those are probably the most important ones to talk about for this game, and we've got more to do. So, where are we going next?
I'm going to 9 because I'm sick of talking about these things that I've never heard of.
Let's go to 9. I think we already covered Stiltskin, right? Because he was one of the previews before.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So what do we got
Well,
other than the best black mage ever?
yeah, that's actually the reason why. I mean, you can see if you're watching the video version of this, I made this the background art for this because Vivi is the best. I actually have a little plushy Vivi back here on the nerd wall behind me. Where is he? Oh, he's right in front of Shovel Knight. Yay, front and center. But anyway, right. So Vivi, oh Lord, what is Vivi's last name? Ornitier?
I don't know that I'd ever heard it before.
Or
I would say Ornitier.
Ornitier? Is Vivi French? Oh, do I not like Vivi as much now?
Oh my God, am I always gonna hear his voice in French in my head now?
Vivi.
Oh my God.
Je
No.
m'appelle Vivi Ornitier. Anyway.
You make him
Maybe
sound,
you might have something there.
but you make him sound too self-confident. I love Vivi, and he is wonderful, and he is not self-confident, at least when you get started.
Yeah, like, do you know what pangolins look like?
Vivi?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
they always look like they have something they really want to ask you, but they don't want to bother you.
Oh.
That's Vivi. So, Vivi, for 1 a blue and a red, is a 0/3 legendary wizard. Vivi is mythic. Because if Vivi wasn't mythic, we were gonna riot. So, for 0 mana, for 0 mana, you add X mana in any combination of blue and or red, where X is Vivi's power. Activate only during your turn and only once each turn. So you need...
But Chewy, he's a 0/3.
Yeah, so you're going to have to do some shenanigans. Hand him a big... I can't say that on this show. Hand him a big-ass axe. But it gets better. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you put a +1/+1 counter on Vivi, and he deals 1 damage to each opponent, which is a black mage thing in this set.
Yeah. And yeah. Vivi may be like, there are people that feel like he's just the best black mage in Final Fantasy. I think that's up to debate. Lulu absolutely has fans for different reasons.
Hot.
Mm-hmm.
At least 2. But but Vivi,
You mean her stuffed Moogle, right? That's one of
yeah,
them.
and the Cactar, yes.
Yeah.
But
And all the
Vivi
leather.
might be the best wizard in this set because holy cow. You mentioned give him like, an axe or something. I immediately flashed to what is the giant hammer where target creature gets +10/+10 and loses flying?
But
Colossus Hammer.
Thank you. Does this make me a bad person? I think it might.
I think so, yeah.
There's also no restriction that you can only use that mana to cast like non-creature spells or whatever. You can cast it for whatever you want.
Yeah, like Chat just said that Quicksilver Elemental went from bulk to double digits after Vivi's reveal. And
Quicksilver
there is
Elemental.
some talk that Vivi might be possibly ban-worthy in some formats. So,
I think so.
I mean,
I could definitely see like a weird red white Cheerios type.
oh yeah,
Blow up
I
your
used to
face
play the
deck.
heck out of Quicksilver Elemental. I tried to make this thing great. Well,
yeah, remember,
All it
it
took was-
specifies non-creature spell, not instant or sorcery. So, zero-cost artifacts? Go for it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I
Cheap
mean, I'm
instances
proud
or
of the little
sorceries.
guy.
So, yeah, Vivi is ridiculously powerful, as he should be.
And it's a good thing it says cast because Storm would be terrible.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Storm does say cast, Dark. You just Dirk, no. Go to your room.
Wait, you
Dirk,
don't
when you
You don't cast the
a-
copies of Storm, do you?
No, you don't.
Okay.
Oh, you don't?
That's why
Well,
I'm
like
saying.
there are some.
Thankfully, Storm doesn't do that.
Okay. I almost
Yeah.
had a
If you remember, there were some. The Magecraft from Strixhaven also counted copying spells, not just casting. But this doesn't. This is just casting.
Yeah.
mm.
Good old Vivi.
But I mean, even without shenanigans, if you just play, like, if I was to open this in limited, I'd be like, yes, because if you play any number of just non-creature spells, artifacts, sagas, whatever, you're gonna ping the opponent a couple times, and let's say you get off 3 of those. Okay, now I've got a 3/6 that for no mana, every time it's my turn, I can add free mana to my mana pool. We don't call it that anymore, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a free, differently colored Dark Ritual in that case. Every turn.
Yes.
Like,
This,
it's completely ridiculous.
like a lot of times when something is busted and constructed and limited, you may be like, but this is just good, period. You don't even have to, like, I'm not even talking about, like, building the deck around it. I'm just saying, incidentally, this is like, oh, by the way, yeah. I'm almost a bit concerned because red decks are already really good in standard right now, and now I feel like this thing, it's Vivi. I love him. I can't call him a thing, but this plus the red decks that we already have feels like it will burn you out even faster. So, I want to love him, but I am afraid of him at the same time, which is probably the appropriate response for a black mage. So, let's talk about something else real quick before I get too afraid of Vivi. Or
Right.
Le Vivi.
Well, there's a Zidane right next to him.
There is. So, Zidane, Tantalus Thief. He's an uncommon. He is a legendary human mutant scout.
Yeah, all right.
For 3, a red, and a white, he's a 3/3. When Zidane enters, gain control of target creature an opponent controls until end of turn. Untap it. It gains lifelink and haste until end of turn. A threaten with a lifelink attached is pretty interesting. And then this second ability is really interesting. Whenever an opponent gains control of a permanent from you, you create a treasure token. So the obvious one is, hey, at the end of the turn, when I steal Dirk's creature, and assuming Dirk's going to kill me next turn because he hates it when I do that, but at the end of my turn, he's going to get his creature back, which triggers this second ability. But red also has a lot of like, hey, I'll trade, you get this thing from me. So, or not just like threaten effects, but like, let's swap these things or whatever. So, triggers on those as well.
I don't get this one flavorfully.
Sorry, say that again?
I said I don't get this one flavorfully at all.
So, I mean, at least at the beginning of the story, he's with Tantalus, which is the theater troupe, and he is a thief, at least by trade. I mean, that's his ability, steal, right?
Yeah.
So he's an entertaining thief. I don't know about the whole lifelink thing. I think that's more of a card, make him better sort of thing. But um, I'm kind of almost picturing, he's on stage and he's like, "Hey, we need an audience participant," and somebody comes up and doesn't act with them, and then when they go back, everybody throws money at them, right? It's kind of a stretch.
Or he picks their pocket before they leave the stage.
There you
Yeah.
go. And notice he's a mutant along with Kuja, and that's because they're actually aliens.
Hmm.
So they were genetically modified by a man named Garland, not to be confused with Garland from Final Fantasy 1, to essentially be bringers of death on Gaia. So
Man, I hate it when that happens.
that's true. So what's
Yeah.
what's Kuja's deal? What's with this other mutant? He's not a scout.
He might be. I know he's a wizard. Never mind. I don't know. Who's up?
I'll do it.
Could be.
Puja, genome sorcerer for 2 black red. He's a 3/4 human mutant wizard. It's legendary and is rare. At the beginning of your instep, create a tapped 0/1 black wizard creature token with whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this token deals 1 damage to each opponent. Then if you control 4 or more wizards, transform Kuja.
So that's because Kuja's the one making the black wizards or the black waltzes or something or other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Okay.
manufacturing.
It's been a very long time, and I never actually beat 9. So
All right. So what happens is he transforms into Trance Kuja, Fate Defied, that is a legendary avatar wizard, who is a 4/6, and he has the ability Flame Star. If a wizard you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage instead.
Which
I
keep
would,
in mind,
I would like to point out, yeah, he's a wizard.
yeah, he's a wizard, but you've also got those tokens that he made, and in a Grixis deck, Vivi is still a wizard. And
Yeah,
every time,
all of the black mage related stuff I've seen has this when you cast a non-creature spell, deal 1 damage to each opponent thing.
it's a recurring thing in the set. Um, the Black Mage staff, which is from Final Fantasy 1, so it won't show up in this, but it's the job selection that creates a wizard, and it gives the wizard this ability as well.
Yeah, and
The
it's
equipped
Rod.
creature.
Thank you very much.
Rod, thank you. Staff, Rod, Jim Bob.
Jimbo.
I never got to the end of 9, but that's awesome.
Yeah. I like how with some of the final bosses, it's like, here's a really big thing, and it's terrifying, and that's great. I love it. And with Kuja, he costs 4. He doesn't cost as much as some of them, but this is very much I mean, you could build a deck with enough other wizards that you flip him almost right away, and this is more of a death by 1,000 cuts sort of thing.
I love that in the alternate art here, it's clearly Saiyan, flip him over, Super Saiyan. What is this, level 3?
4, the one with the red hair.
Is that 4? I don't know that
From GX, I think. So.
Oh, is it 4? Okay.
Yeah. But this is
I
how the
find that
sprite
weird.
looks in the game. So.
There's also Freya,
Yes.
who is a combination dragoon red mage in 9.
I always thought it was like she's a dragoon. She always struck me as she was the dragoon class.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I wouldn't consider her a red mage. She wears the hat of a red mage, but I don't think she casts any spells.
I think I know where Chewie's coming from. I think she does have abilities that are spell-like.
Oh, maybe that was it. So real quick, because she's an uncommon, Freya Crescent, for a single red, is a 1/1 Rat Knight. Legendary Rat Knight. Rat Knight.
Well, she's from Vermesia.
She has jump, so during your turn she has flying, and she taps for red mana, and you spend this mana only to cast an equipment spell or activate an equip ability. So that's nice and simple. Leans into the dragoonishness. Ooh, we got fire magic too, which has VV casting fire magic.
Why don't you tell us about it?
So it's instant and uncommon. It costs a single red. Fire has no additional cost. 1 damage to each creature. For a single red. Great. For 2 extra, so for 2 in a red, you get Fyra, which deals 2 damage to each creature. Pyroclasm. Great. Dead on.
Instant speed Pyroclasm.
But it's instant speed, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Fyraga costs 5 in a red to deal 3 damage to each creature at instant speed, which is kind of stupid.
It is really, really good. I kind of feel like with ice magic, the Ira is probably the mode that you're going to see the most use out of. Not that dealing 3 damage to all creatures is bad. It's great. You're going to hit some things you're not going to hit with 2, but I feel like for 3 mana, instant speed Pyroclasm is kind of crazy. So.
Yeah, that is good for just 3 and no. Like, there have been others that have been like 2 to all non-pirate creatures, instant speed for 3 mana. But this, like, having no restrictions at that level, that is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, 6 for Faraga is a lot, but honestly, 5 for Faraga would not be enough in my mind.
Oh, and I get that. I absolutely get that. I think there will be certainly situations where you're going to want to hold out to deal 1 more to each creature, but I think most of the time 2 will be enough.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, that's why you have the versatility versus something.
Plus, it'll trigger all of your black wizards before they all get fried. So yay.
It's true.
That's what I was thinking too. Like, and all those black wizards are gonna, pile on to that.
We regret nothing.
But Vivi will survive because he gets the +1/+1 counter.
Yeah, he does.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
So chat has a good question. How do you pronounce the second level there?
Fyra.
Mike?
I don't even know what I just said. I don't know whether I said Fire or Fira.
But that would have a U.
And what about the third one? Because I know back in the day I used to say Fire, Fyra, Firaga because that's how it's spelled. But I think these days I go Fyraga now.
I'd say Fyraga.
Fyraga.
I probably would have said Firaga.
So I'm with those two now, and I'm past me is with Mike.
I mean, looking at how it's spelled, you might go Firaga, but I think it rolls off the tongue when you, in the context of the other modes, Fire, Fyra, Fyraga, that sequentially, to me, it makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're just reading letters on a screen, Firaga. But after you come to understand what the intent of the naming system was, then you understand Fyraga.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, what are we doing now?
I want to say, can I pick?
Go for it.
I'm just gonna say.
do it quickly.
I don't think there's too many 4 yet. So let's just go ahead and hit that. And because I think they'll add more later. Obviously, these are not all the previews. We've already seen Cecil because he was one of the original. Wow, this will be fast. We've already seen Cecil, so all we have here is Kane.
And Sid that we already talked about. So tell us about.
But it is him. It is Sid jumping off the airship holding a bomb. So that is awesome. But here we have.
But don't worry,
Kane.
he'll be fine.
He'll be fine. Even Sam was like, "Really? The last 3 people have all died in air quotes." So, but here we have Kane, and Kane is like you start the game with Kane. He's one of the original characters, and you're like, "Oh, this is my buddy," and then he betrays you like more than once. So Kane, traitorous dragoon for 2 and a black is a 2/4. Legendary human knight. He's rare, and he has jump, so during your turn he is flying. Whenever Kane deals combat damage to a player, that player gains control of Kane.
Jesus.
If they do, you draw that many cards, create that many tapped treasure tokens, then lose that much life.
That's fun. That's a really fun card.
This feels like what Corona False God should have been. Which is a weird statement.
That is an extremely weird statement.
And the fact that he has jump makes it that much harder to like block him. So
yeah, he's a backstabbing douchebag, but it's not his fault. It's mind control.
Yeah.
Every single time it happens.
I thought they previewed a Rosa card, but I guess she's not here yet.
Okay. Yeah, she's not.
But she's not. She's in the commander deck.
Oh, that's why.
Okay.
Okay. And then I really want to see what they do with Zemus, but it's not on here yet. So that's it for 4.
Look at the basic mount for 4.
Yeah, it's Mount Ordeals.
Oh, is it?
Oh, excuse me.
Oh, cool.
Oh, is it?
Because that's the thing. Because it's the bridge that you go across in order to get to the.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Cool.
I looked at it for a while, like I don't know what that's from, and then I looked at the bridge, and the bridge was the dead giveaway for me.
Yeah, there needs to be a little zombie-looking thing on one side and a big scary monster on the other side. Let's see. There are no characters in 1, right? Yeah,
except for
Garland.
Except for Garland. Yeah.
Oh, that's boring. There's only the one. Oh, there's only the one in 2, I think, so far.
Okay.
Not counting the old cards with renamed whatever that's called.
Yeah, no, I'm not counting those.
Oh no, there's an Emperor too.
Yeah, there's an Emperor and a Furion, and communing with beavers.
Guy speak beaver.
Guy was so weird. I never understood what the point was. Like, was he just supposed to be dumb or what?
I think he was like raised by wolves or something, or beavers or something. Who knows?
The problem with 2 is that you got a sense that these people had stories, but you never found out what they were. So
yeah.
But
so we got a Wild Rose Warrior, which I really love the name.
So Furion, Wild Rose Warrior for 2 and a red. Wait, I took Kane, so somebody else take this.
Okay, I'll read him. So Furion, the Wild Rose Warrior, for 2 and a red, is a 3/3 human rebel warrior who's rare. Equipped creatures you control have haste. That's big. Because remember, all of the job select things just make a dude.
Yep.
So if nothing else, there's that. But whenever a non-token equipment you control enters, create a token that's a copy of it. Okay, wait. Okay, so when you play an equipment, you get a token copy. Okay, except it has this equipment's equipped abilities cost 2 less to activate. And then you sacrifice that token at the beginning of the next upkeep. So when you play an equipment, you get a bonus copy that is cheaper to equip for 1 turn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it as far as Firion, but it's a really cool ability.
I think his whole thing was because so much of 2 was based around you didn't have jobs in 2, but you had the weapon proficiencies and the spells. So this is weapon proficiency. Like, oh, more weapons for your buck, I guess. That's my guess.
I mean, that sounds good. I love the name though, because Wild Rose was the secret code to show you were part of the... God, was it actually called the Rebellion?
I think it was called the Rebellion. It was literally the Rebellion versus the Empire.
Oh my God. Or was it the Resistance, mate? I can't remember. It's been too long since I played 2 now.
It was not the Returners, that was 6.
True. But yeah, that was the... Final Fantasy 2 had this really neat keyword system that never came back in this series. But you could learn new words and then you could say them to people. And the very first one you learn is Wild Rose, because that's the code to, let people know you were in with the Rebellion, wink wink.
Yeah. I mean, other games you would be like, hey, I want to join your group, and they'd be like, not until you talk to so and so, and then you talk to so and so, and then they'd be like, okay, cool, you know the password. But 2 actually made you think about it, and you were learning this stuff as you went along, both as the character and as the player. So I liked it. 2 was the first one to really try and do more with the story. But interestingly enough, while the story was okay, the characters weren't fleshed out. It wasn't until 4 that they started to really hit their stride with that.
I mean, it was the NES. There wasn't that much they could do.
It was. Oh, sure.
But yeah, that's fair. Was there some sort of duping glitch in Final Fantasy 2? Maybe that's the first thing that came to mind. I know there was one in 4 that was famous, but
I'm not sure.
If there was, I don't know about it. Oh well. Guy Speak Beaver.
Guy Speak Beaver.
So there's an Emperor too. We didn't talk about the Emperor, right?
No, we haven't talked about the Emperor. The Emperor looks kind of like Mike if he didn't have a beard and he had white hair.
So if he changed everything about Mike, he would look just like the Emperor of Palamecia.
Same beard,
right.
same build. Yeah.
With the little wing things coming out of his shoulders there. All right.
That looks pretty good.
The Emperor of Palamecia is an uncommon, legendary human noble wizard. For just 2 mana, a blue and a red, you get a 2/2. First ability, tap, add blue or red. Spend this mana only to cast a non-creature spell. That's good.
That is good.
2 mana creature. I think so.
Yeah, I dig it.
And then, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, if at least 4 mana was spent to cast it, put a +1/+1 counter on the Emperor. Then if it has 3 or more +1/+1 counters on it, transform it.
Uh-oh.
Now, keep in mind, since it's staying on the battlefield the whole time, those +1/+1 counters will still be on it. So,
yeah.
The other side, the Lord Master of Hell.
Yeah.
Is a base 3/3, but it's going to have some +1/+1 counters on it.
At least 3.
It's a legend. Yep, a legendary demon noble wizard. So this ability is Starfall. Whenever the Lord Master of Hell attacks, it deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of non-creature, non-land cards in your graveyard.
So, Chewie, why is his ability Starfall?
I honestly don't remember.
Oh, since you played through 2, I thought maybe
I can see his art, like his pixel art in the game, but the final boss from 3 was so infuriating that it has basically erased all my memories of 2.
Oh, well, in two, Starfall was a unique spell that only the Emperor could use, and it
Okay.
started out at level 16. So it was his big
But
flashy end move. That's why.
so the only thing I've seen about this in the Discord was nope, flavor fail because you had to kill him and then he went to hell and then he became king of hell and this creature doesn't go to the graveyard first. And I think that was Ben.
I'm,
And I'm like, I mean, yeah, but this way he gets to keep the +1/+1 counters.
yeah. Flavorfully, yes, it would make more sense if he died. They did a bit of a workaround here, so.
Yeah. And besides, maybe you don't actually kill him. Maybe you just send him to hell, and then he's such a badass that he takes over.
Yeah. He also is a wizard for Kuja and Vivi.
And in case you
Well,
want to
I guess
make
Vivi doesn't care.
a big blue-red evil wizard deck.
It does. All right.
Freaking Lord Master of Hell. When I first saw the other side of this card, I was like, really? That's what they went with?
I mean, so in Dawn of Souls, he also his personality splits. He also becomes like an evil, yet somehow good heaven thing. But this is only dealing with the mainline games, so not remakes or anything like that. So this makes sense. I don't know. I realize it's over the top, but it's kind of metal. Like,
Oh, yeah.
he's not just anybody. He is literally the Lord Master of Hell. So I'm feeling it.
So, now what? I haven't even looked at 3. Is there anything going on in 3?
Yes, but not a character.
No, not a character. Well, don't care then. We'll come back to that later.
Okay. We'll come back to it later.
Is there anything going... I haven't clicked on 5 not once. Is there anything going on in 5? We got Gilgamesh. Oh, and Bart's. Oh, yeah, Bart's.
Yeah. We should talk about Gilgamesh and Bart's.
We should talk about... I got Bart's on the screen. Hey, Derek, it's green. You want to read Bart's?
Sure. Bart's and Boko.
Oh, Boko.
So for Bako,
What? No, you had it
Boko.
right.
Bart's and Boko. For 3 and 2 green, they are a human bird,
They
respectively.
are a human bird.
Legendary, that's a 4/3, and it's rare. And we start off with Affinity for Birds. This spell costs 1 less for each bird you control. And when Bart's and Boko enters, each other bird you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature an opponent controls.
Why does Boko cause all of the birds that you control to descend on an enemy and kill it?
He's like the cuckoos from Zelda. But I think importantly because he's really the only chocobo that's given any sort of personality in the series. You might breed the ones in 7, but you don't, and I can't remember if you named them or not, but otherwise they don't really have personalities. No, in 16 there is a chocobo named Ambrosia, but otherwise Boko was first. So do we want to talk about the traveling chocobo? Well, no, that's in 7. So there's lots of birds thanks to chocobos.
But yeah, Bart's is another blank slate character, essentially. Not really, but he doesn't have terribly much to work with because all the characters in Final Fantasy V are whatever you tell them to be as far as gameplay. So
His
putting him
entire
on the chocobo and making it a chocobo card makes sense because this is his buddy.
His
like
whole
when you first meet him,
personality
he's
is-
riding on Boko.
His whole personality is I'm an adventurer and I like to go where the wind takes me. That's it.
And I'm a himbo. such a himbo. And yes, he was named Butts in the original, like, was it the original, like, fan translation of Final Fantasy 2? Was in the Japanese version, was he actually called Butts? I can't remember.
One of the two.
One of the two. But hey, there's Gilgamesh.
There is Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh
So,
is an
Gilgamesh.
idiot.
He is, and he shows up in 5, and then he becomes a recurring character, kind of like Sid. How most games have a Sid, but the funny thing is with Gilgamesh, it's heavily implied to be the same Gilgamesh. He just gets trapped between worlds, i.e., games. He shows up in numerous ones, but his original incarnation is in 5. So Gilgamesh, Master at Arms, which is funny because he has 2 extra arms, but we'll get into that. For 6 mana, 4 and 2 red, he is a 6/6 legendary human samurai. He is rare. Whenever Gilgamesh enters or attacks, like a Titan, which all costs 6 for 6 mana, 6 mana for 6/6s. Whenever he enters or attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put any number of equipment cards from among them onto the battlefield.
Gross.
Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Whenever you put 1 or more equipment onto the battlefield this way, you may attach one of them to a samurai you control.
Hey, he's a samurai.
He is.
Yeah.
He gets along really well with Furion, because then he'll have haste.
And I really love that it's when he enters or attacks. Like, his whole thing in several, well, not his whole thing, but a thing about Gilgamesh in several of the games that he loves weapons. He's always looking for a bigger and better sword.
And the funny thing is, a lot of times he comes really close to finding it and then doesn't. Like, in Exdeath's castle, he stops you before you get to a treasure chest, and he's like, I'm going to take that. And he says, finally, I have Excalibur. And then he equips it during the battle, and it's a poor weapon called Excalibur, and it deals 1 damage. And he's like, wait, what? And then you beat him. And you get an Excalibur. There was an event on Final Fantasy Brave Exvius where you could challenge Gilgamesh for multiple copies of Excalibur, which were basically just event currency. So, but in other games, in a lot of games, if you steal from him, he has the Genji equipment, because samurai.
Yeah, I mean, he has the Genji equipment in 5. You can steal different pieces of it each time you meet him. You bump into him several times throughout the game.
Mm-hmm.
Including the last time where he's like, hey, Bart, we're besties. And it's like, what?
Yeah. He is an adorable teddy bear that can also, if you're not careful, he can beat you. But
yeah,
he is so lovable. He's great.
I think when you beat him the first time, he's like, whoa, that was fun. We should do this again sometime. Yeah. And then he leaves. And then later, he's like, all right, let's do it again sometime. It's now.
Yeah.
Friend.
And so people that are aware of the series know of, like, Cloud and Sephiroth. People that have enjoyed the series know Moogles and Chocobos. And people that are way too into the series are like, Gilgamesh is the real mascot.
Right? All right. It is starting to get late. Should we do one of the big ones?
Let's do 6.
Okay,
because I'm not going to make it through the night if we don't talk about Kefka. So, before Dirk needs to leave, we should talk about 6.
Phoenix down.
Where the hell is Kefka? There's Kefka. Oh, yeah, I forgot. We got this Terra we haven't talked about, too.
Yeah, who's a really good Terra.
Yeah, okay. Well, what do we do first?
I'll do Kefka.
Okay, Dirk, you do Kefka.
Kefka, Court Mage. For 2 blue, black, red. He's a mythic legendary creature that's a human wizard and is a 4/5.
So
Whenever
hold on,
Kefka,
I'm gonna stop you right here for what we were just talking about. Chewy.
What?
This is a Grixis colored commander that's a wizard. This is everything you need. Now,
More evil
Dirk.
wizards.
Yeah, Dirk, keep going.
when Kefka enters or attacks, each player discards a card. When you draw a card for each card type among cards discarded this way. Then you draw a card for each card type. Yeah. I'm redoing as each player discards a card. Then you draw a card for each card type among cards discarded this way.
So, if you have Kefka and you attack me, and I discard a land, and you discard a creature, and Chewy discards a planeswalker, and Mike discards another land, same type as me, you draw 3 cards. Because 3 different card types were discarded. That's without getting into artifact creatures, blah, blah, blah.
Yep. All right.
Oh, God.
So, he also has 8. Just each opponent sacrifices a permanent of their choice. Transform Kefka. Activate only as a sorcery. And when he does, he transforms into Kefka, Ruler of Ruin, who is a legendary creature, Avatar Wizard, who is a 5/7 with flying, and whenever an opponent loses life during your turn, you draw that many cards.
Yeah. And it doesn't care. He doesn't care why they lose life as long as they lose life. Remember, as the classic reminder text goes, damage causes loss of life.
It's true. And he's a 5/7 with flying, so he might just be hitting them for 5, and you draw 5 cards with nothing else to help him. The flavor text is the end draws near, which, as you're fighting his final form, he gives a speech at the beginning, and then you're wailing on him, and he's attacking you. And as the screen starts to shake and he gets ready to cast his ultimate attack, which in the original was called Goner, and then in remakes they thought Goner, I guess, sounded a little cheesy, so they changed it to Forsaken. It says the end draws near.
Yeah.
So
and on his alternate version here, the flavor text is some of that speech. Life, dreams, hope. Where do they come from and where do they go? Such meaningless things. I'll destroy them all.
I think that's pretty much the opening speech,
Yeah.
of that battle. Yeah. I really like this. The front half is great. You don't ever have to transform him if you just want to be like, every time I enter and or attack, like we talked about with Gilgamesh, each player discards a card, and I draw at least 1 card, so I'm at least replacing the one I discard, but potentially more. On a 4/5, that already feels pretty darn good. Oh, he's a wizard on both sides. Just want to make sure. Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like is that he's a 4/5 on the front, which seems a bit much for Kefka's original goofy ass. But that is a super minor complaint.
It is a bit of a flavor fail, but the thing is, so when you fight him early in the game, he goes down. I mean, depending on your setup at that Battle of Narsh, he may give you some trouble, but he's a jester. He's not going to be too much. But then he bodies Leo later, which always made me wonder, was he holding back? So, the first time.
Well, that is true.
And then Terra. And I know they say 6 doesn't have a main character, but...
Which is a lie. 6 has 2 main characters.
6 has 2 main characters, Terra and then Celes. But they do a real good job on the first half of convincing you that Tara is the main character, to the point that when she wasn't in the second half, as a kid, I was super confused. I spent most of the time wondering, like, where's Tara and why do I not have her? So Tara, Magical Adept. For 1, a red and a green, is a 4/2 human wizard warrior. That is that tiny type line right there. She is mythic, much like Kefka. When Tara enters, mill 5 cards. Put up to 1 enchantment card milled this way into your hand. Because, spoiler alert for like a 30-year-old game, she's part Esper. France. Pay 4, a red and a green. Tap and exile Terra, then return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Activate only as a sorcery, and she comes back as Esper Terra. Because she's an Esper. She's a 6/6 with flying. Chapter 1, which remember will trigger immediately. Create a token that's a copy of target non-legendary enchantment you control, like a summon. It gains haste. If it's a saga, put up to 3 lore counters on it. Sacrifice it at the beginning of your next end step.
That's so gross.
And she does that for chapters 1, 2, and 3. And then for chapter 4, her final chapter, you add 2 white, 2 blue, 2 black, 2 red, and 2 green. Exile her, then return it to the battlefield front face up. So she doesn't die, she just turns back to normal with all of this mana. Now keep in mind, you cannot tap her for trance again right away because she just exiled and came back, so minus some other way to give her haste, she doesn't have haste. So you can't just dump all that mana into trance again. They pointed out during the panel that, okay, so she's green and red, so these other 3 colors here that she produces are literally the Esper colors. Get it? White, blue, black. Yep. Yeah.
I get it. That's pretty funny.
So she also triggers the mill effect when she comes back. But so there are other cards in this set, like Yuna from 10, that play around with Espers and summons. But holy cow, this gives them supercharged. The Esper Terror, the first 3 chapters, just like basically set them to whatever ability you want. Which I don't think we're getting to 10 tonight, but Bahamut is gross.
So wait, Mike.
Yes.
When you add multiple lore counters to a saga, do all of those excuse me, do all of those trigger, or is it just the last one?
I would have to look at I'll have to look at the details, because read ahead, the read ahead mechanic lets you skip straight to something. Now, I don't think this works exactly the same way, because the token, the copy that she makes is going to come in with one anyway. I think that will trigger its first chapter ability. And then that'll trigger its first chapter ability. It's going to wait to get put on the stack until after you're done with Terra's trigger. Then if you put any more counters on it with Terra's trigger, I'll have to go back and look at the detailed rules for sagas.
Okay, here we go. A chapter ability is a triggered ability that triggers when a lore counter is put on a saga that causes the number of lore counters on the saga to become equal to or greater than the ability's chapter number. Chapter abilities are put on the stack and may be responded to. That doesn't answer the question.
I think we're going to have to wait for an FAQ for this card in particular, because this is going to be a question.
Yeah, because with the way read ahead works, it actually does skip chapters, but I don't know exactly why. I don't know if that's something special about read ahead or something that's built into the saga rules that read ahead can work with.
The hell is read ahead? Oh, the ability.
Yeah, it's a mechanic that was on some sagas.
Right.
I think it first appeared in the Return to Dominaria. Maybe.
I think so.
I think
yeah.
you're right. Yeah. So that is. I don't want to rush us through too much because some of these cards are just ridiculous. But that's Terra and Kefka.
Okay, a chapter ability doesn't trigger if a lore counter is put on a saga that already had a number of lore counters greater than or equal to that chapter's number. For example, the third lore counter put on a saga causes the 3 chapter to trigger, but 1 and 2 won't trigger again. Well, this is assuming that those have already triggered. If multiple chapter abilities trigger at the same time, the controller puts them on the stack in any order. Oh?
Okay. Judge and Phineas is showing us some stuff in the chat. The reason read ahead skips chapters is because of something built into the read ahead rule specifically. But otherwise, doing this with Terra can make multiple chapter abilities trigger.
Okay, that last thing that I just read is what led me. I was about to say that. Yeah, it sounds like it'll trigger every one that it wants to read, or that you want to put that many counters on. That's so cool. All right then. There's some.
Fortunately, I need to go to bed.
Yeah, we should probably.
Sounds reasonable.
We should probably pause for the night. Is there? Oh, wait a minute. Wait. There's one more thing that Chifuji won't shut up about. We got to talk about the stupid chocobo.
Yeah, we probably should.
I don't actually know what's up with the chocobo, but it's the traveling chocobo.
Yeah, it's in 7.
For 2 and a green, it's in 7. For 2 and a green, it's a 3/2 bird that's mythic. Was there a fancy chocobo in 7?
It's the ones you can breed.
So just okay.
It's like the golden one.
We'll get to that in a sec. Keep going over the card, and I'll tell you.
Oh, this one's not legendary. It's just traveling chocobo. Okay, so 3/2 for 3. It's mythic. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. Nice. You may play lands and cast bird spells from the top of your library. Very nice. And if a land or bird you control entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time, which is a whole lot of words to say a bird entering makes things happen twice.
Well, or a land. So like landfall.
Sorry, a land or a bird, yeah.
Yeah. So like landfall triggers twice. So the reason this is a big deal is, first of all, it's a good card, but second of all, this is the showcase card essentially. So when you buy collector's boosters, if you can find them anywhere, while they are all this card and they are all green, they printed this card in different colors to symbolize the different breeds of chocobo that you can breed, including a black one that is only in Japanese. And then, much like the One Ring, or what was it in the last set where there were 100 of something? Was it the Mox Jasper?
Doesn't matter. Whatever it was.
There are 77 golden traveling chocobos. So that is everybody going nuts for that. I doubt Post Malone will buy it for $1 million because there are 77 of them, but dare to dream. I do like the card. I think it's very efficient. A 3 mana, look at the top card of your library anytime and play lands if nothing else allows you to free up the space in your hand and keep digging into your deck. Even without
causes
birds,
your landfalls to trigger twice.
Yeah. even without bird synergy, is great. I know Dirk's got to go, but that's the hype with the chocobo.
Yeah, it's the what's it called, the serialized card in this set, because
Yeah,
that's going to be a thing forever now.
they it went well for them with the One Ring, so they're like, this is the thing now. It used to be box toppers, now it's this.
The hell are box toppers? Oh, that was just the thing that was literally in on top of the box when
Right.
you opened it, right?
Right, like the time warp Ugins thing that I can't remember, that everybody was like, oh, it broke the game or whatever. Yeah.
What?
Don't worry about it. Let's get Dirk to bed.
All right then. So I know we missed a whole lot of stuff, including 7, but that's fine. We will come back to 7 and we'll read Zach Fair and we'll all have a good cry. And then we'll do it later. So all right, that's some of the stuff from Final Fantasy, the Magic set, the main Magic set. Like I said, I'm sure we're gonna do a whole episode on just the Commander decks because that's neat. The way they've got 4 Commander decks each set up as a different game.
Mm-hmm.
It's 6, 7, 14, and what's the other one? Is it 10?
I think 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got Titus on the front.
Titus is on the front.
Oh yeah,
Titus,
yeah.
never Titus.
So all right then, let's wrap it up. Final thoughts. What's your name? Steve.
Me.
Yeah, you, Steve.
My final thought. In terms of what I've been playing, I've been a little all over the place.
Oh yeah.
But I've been playing the MechWarrior 5 clans, playing the Ghost Bear campaign. It's a lot of fun. I still haven't beat it, although I'm currently at a mission that I might have to watch some YouTube stuff to see how people can beat this mission, because I have not figured out how to do it. You have to destroy a giant tank before it gets to the end, and I've been able to knock out 4 of the 6 treads, and it still keeps going, and I have not been able to destroy this thing before it gets to its point and blows everything up. So aside from that, trying to figure out how to beat that and everything, I'm enjoying the game.
Hey Dirk.
Yep.
Hey Dirk.
Yep.
Have you tried getting good?
Well, what I need my star mates to actually shoot at it too. And I've told them, like, I want you to shoot at that thing, like telling it to shoot at certain treads. And I don't know. And the problem is it's not one of these missions where you're like, well, I'll just save before you get to that. No, that's not how this game plays. Either you start the mission and you can only, like, there is no restart at a save spot in the middle of the mission. You have to restart the whole mission, and the whole mission takes like 10-15 minutes to get through to get to that point. So it's an endeavor to get to that point in the first place. And then to be like, okay, let me see if I can figure out how to do this. So it's, and the mech I'm fighting in is already heavily damaged going into it, because I ran out of money. So it's just one of those things like,
oh God,
let me see if I can figure this out.
You haven't managed to soft lock yourself, have you?
Yeah. Well, like, I was playing the game and got into a mission where I end up taking significant damage to my mech, and the repair guys cannot repair all the damage, and I cannot buy any more heavy mechs to load out my party. So I am essentially locked into the group I have. If that's what you mean by a soft lock.
I mean, I'm concerned that possibly you've hit this region, this part of the game, and because of your damaged mechs and lack of money and whatnot, you physically can't beat this mission, and I hope that's not the case because soft locks are the
No,
worst.
I'm at the limit, and everybody else is fine. My mech's the only one, so I just send them ahead and be like, I need you guys to go clean out these rooms, and they do.
Okay.
Everyone's fully healed. My mech still has it can't repair all the damage, but repairs a good chunk of it before that battle. But I've just not been able to, like, I just, like I said, I was not able to knock out enough stuff to make it, to destroy it before it got to the end of its location. So,
Would you say
like I
that
said,
you're bad at this game?
I'm just bad at this game. But I will say this: at the point I'm at right now, looking at the achievements and everything, if I were able to beat the game, I would have 0.0 or 0.1% achievement on it.
Jesus.
There was a point, oh yeah, like this is so new that at one point I got an achievement and it was at 0.1%.
Oh, you mean 0.1% of players have gotten this achievement?
Correct.
Oh, I thought you meant like 0.1 percentage done. I was like, how big is this game?
No, it's like
I got you
players have unlocked this achievement. So there was a point where I got that and I'm going, oh, so I'm ahead of like a lot of people right now in this game.
Sick.
So that's why I'm like, I might wait a little bit and see if people can figure out how to do it and then watch a video and be like, all right, let's see how you guys did it so I can progress on. But like I said, I've been enjoying it.
Nice.
So, and with that, I'm heading to bed. You guys all have a wonderful night.
Night, Zerg.
All right.
Good night.
All right, who's next?
I mean, my final thought is like, set looks great. I don't know that. I'm trying to be objective about this and not be like, oh, everything Final Fantasy touches is awesome. I feel like most of it is spot on. I do feel like there's been a couple times where, like, compared to like the Lord of the Rings set, where we're like, yes, this matches exactly with that. There's a couple here where we're like, all right, I can see what they're going for. They have to make it fit the rules and that sort of thing. So I don't know if it's as, one to one, but we haven't seen the whole set yet. So far I'm liking what I'm seeing, and we haven't touched everything yet, because if we just covered all of the awesome stuff, we'd be going for another 2 hours. So, and again, not everything is out yet. I don't know. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Work is work and all that good stuff, but this is awesome. I haven't really cared about going to at least I think the last two sets for pre-releases. I didn't do I thought Dragons looked interesting, but I didn't end up going. I didn't go to Foundations, so it's been a minute. But I'm going to try to go to this one, assuming that I can find a store that is gonna let me go, and then I will be registering ahead of time. But that's my thoughts.
Nice. Mike?
Yeah, even though my personal playing experience with the Final Fantasy series is limited, I've, watched my brother play so much more than I have myself, and I've listened to other people talk about Final Fantasy E so much even more than that to feel like I have a pretty solid feel of what's going on, and I am actually do have like knowledge and connection with some of these characters, even for the games that I haven't played. It's really cool to see this. It's really cool to see good and interesting designs, and since it's not just some commander decks or a little secret layer set, you can we also get to see common and uncommon designs that are needed to fill out a normal Magic set, and the good and interesting stuff there. Yeah, seeing a proper set filled out, I think adds even more to how interesting it is for me. So yeah, I'm also going to try to hit up an event with Brian, and I'm optimistic about it. I think it's going to be really fun.
Nice.
I remain optimistic as well.
Chifuji said the full set will be previewed by May 30th.
Cool.
Surely it won't take that long. Although I don't know, this is their second big Universes Beyond thing, so I can see them wanting to stretch it out.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Is that it for you?
Yes.
Nice. Well, for my final thought, I have nothing to say about the Final Fantasy set. I finished my run of XCOM that I was playing off stream. It was way too easy. Like, I mean, I also, whenever I would do something stupid, I would reload a save. But, you know. But I was playing on normal, and by the time I got done, like, all of the countries had, well, zero panic isn't a thing on normal difficulty, but all of the countries had the lowest possible panic. I got the achievements for doing every research and every foundry thing and everything. And I was like, and it was just a joke. And I didn't realize that once you got a satellite up over a country, you couldn't have abduction missions there anymore. So at the end, I'm like, all right, I need like one more cyber disk wreck. So I have to find a mission with a cyber disk in it, kill the cyber disk, and then I can finish this last, research or foundry mission or whatever, or foundry project or whatever. And I would hit the scan button, and the globe would just sit there and spin and spin and spin and spin and spin and spin. And I'm like, where are the damn aliens? Are they all afraid? Where the... Luckily, it gave me some sort of, I think it was a terror mission or something, and there was a cyber disk there, so I could, finish the final foundry project or whatever it was. And yeah, I had so much money and so little missions to do that I would just wait for another month to roll in, get all the money, and then build a bunch of stuff so that the next time I got a mission, I could do something to get an achievement. Like, there was one where it was like, field an entire party of mechs, one from each class. And I was like, oh, Jesus, because I only ever made one mech. So it's like, I guess I'll make 3 more people into mechs. And then I also made 2 shivs, because there was another achievement that was like, field an entire squad of just mechs and shivs. It was like Rise of the Machines or something. Shivs were essentially little human-sized tanks that are autonomous. I was like, okay. And just to knock off some achievements, because why not? Because I'm meeting no freaking opposition anymore. And then I waltzed through the final mission like it weren't no thing. And I was like, should I play this again on a harder difficulty? Or should I and I looked up the differences in the difficulties in XCOM. This is the 15, 16, the newer XCOM, not the OG original, because I don't hate myself. But the differences in difficulty are just like, oh, the enemies have better aim and you get less money, and countries panic easier. And I was like, this feels like, just making, and aliens have more HP. I'm like, this just feels like damage sponge difficulty, not like difficulty. Does that make sense? Like you're not making it to where it needs more skill. It's just making things harder. I know
Yeah,
this isn't coming out right.
Yeah, it's about, it's making it to where you just needed to have your numbers higher.
Yeah. And I guess there is some strategical skill in, like, because you get less funding and countries can panic earlier, you've got to be better about the base building side of things. But I'm like, this doesn't sound like the fun kind of increased difficulty. This sounds like the developers just giving the player the middle finger kind of increased difficulty. I was like, maybe I'll just move on to XCOM 2. I don't know. And then I found out that I could install the much loved Long War mod on XCOM on the Steam Deck. And I went, ooh. Long War is essentially, said it's a fan created mod, but it makes, instead of having 4 classes for your soldiers, there's 8. And each one has drastically different builds, so it's not just 8. And your squad size, instead of starting to 4 and going up to 6, it starts at 6 and can go up to 8. And things take longer, and there's a lot more strategy, and there's fatigue, so you can't have, like, one team and then a few backups. No, you need to have, like, multiple squads set up to do different things. And I'm like, this all sounds fascinating. So I might do that. I don't know. The problem with Long War is that it's a very long. It's a time investment.
Really?
And I don't know. Right? And I don't know if I want to put that much time into a mod when I could just play XCOM 2 and then Midnight Suns. Marvel's Midnight Suns, also by Firaxis. So yeah, these are the things I'm struggling with. But I've also been streaming Balatro and Power Wash Simulator. And I've got to get back to Final Fantasy VI. Like, I reached the World of Ruin, and then I've sort of been taking it easy because I had some issues for a while. I didn't stream for a week or two. And I didn't want to dive right back in, having to do voices and whatnot and destroy my throat. But I think I'm used to streaming again to where I could get back to Final Fantasy VI. But a break between the World of Balance and the World of Ruin just feels right,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Because, the last thing that happened was we lost. And the world got destroyed. And then Celeste woke up and was like, oh, everything sucks now? So, my headcanon is that in this last month and change since I've played Final Fantasy VI, she's just been depressed. Which will, work for the first thing she's going to do when I load up the game again. Oh, God. But anyway. So, yeah, come hang out on stream, and I'll play more Final Fantasy VI. I've had a major problem, you guys, since the roguelike, actually before the roguelike episode. I have fallen back into Balatro super hard. Like, it's a problem. But anyway, so, right, I should thank our Mythic Lifeguards, as always. But I haven't pulled it up yet. So, let me thank in this order. Violet Moon, Al, Timio Hilizaru, Scuzzo, Michael, what a weirdo, Andrew Odie, Jason Kaus, Casey, Jake Jansons, Jason Doan, don't trust that guy. I bet he plays Final Fantasy 14. Kim Ho and ALK Alters. Thank you all so very much. And all of you out there listening, go to patreon.com/themanapool. Also, you should join our Discord. I know everybody says that, but we actually have a really nice little community here of Discordy people. Yeah. Is that it?
I think so.
I guess follow me on all the social media things, Instagram and Threads. BlueSky's the one I'm actually somewhat active on. I do try to post the thumbnails for episodes on Instagram. I've been having a lot of fun making the thumbnails lately. I was especially happy with how the last episodes turned out with the Star Wars video games.
Yeah, it turned out real good.
Oh, thank you. But all right then. So this has been episode. Is that number right? It is 725. Good Lord, of the Mana Pool. Thank you all so very much for joining us, and I don't have a Final Fantasy reference. Don't force feed rotten fish to an old Cid.